first question to you is why? In fact, let me rephrase that. You are one of the most multi-talented person that I know across Africa. Why are you hiding?
That's a good question. I always like to be in the background of things, right? Because what I do, I don't do it for any sort of praise or recognition. One way I can describe myself is
one of the things that I think is really important for the audience to understand. A different set of people know you to do different things, right? How did you start?
Kind of stole my dad's laptop. I was in class with one of our biggest artists around, Youngsal. Youngsal recorded his first ever song in class, and then this gentleman walked into the studio. Guess who the gentleman was?
Drizilik?
No, I was walking. My dad was pissed. My mom was okay. She was happy. I'm bringing it. We had a group called Grandma Records.
Can you tell us who is Drizilik right now?
That's a big question. He's more than just a musician.
Drizilik has become one of the hottest artists in Sierra Leone. He's gone all over Africa.
So we supported him. At some point, I got heavily involved in movies. Right after college, I met someone by the name of a lot of big stars that you guys know today. They shot photos for that movie. All of you names I can remember.
So basically, what you are saying, you are super committed,
yes,
and you are talented.
Yes.
My first question to you is why? Bayoh, you are one of the most talented people that I know across Africa.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
You are one of the most multi-talented person that I know across Africa. But when I was researching this episode, I could hardly see your post online.
Oh.
You are not known.
Yeah.
And a lot of people even underrate your skills. Why are you hiding?
That's a good question. I think I will ask myself the same question. Why?
Scholar.
I think I always like to be in the background of things, right? I like to be, in the behind the curtains doing my work, and because what I do, I don't do it for any sort of praise or recognition. I just want to have it done, and even if my name is not there, I don't mind as long as it's out there and it's making impact. I'm fine. That's why I care about this. How what I'm doing impacts other people, or how my skills can used in a positive way. So yeah, most times I don't care about the recognition. I know on this day that you need to let people know what you're doing, but yeah, I've not been doing that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah.
I can see some of our listeners, if you're out there, you are a social media manager, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can link you to Bayoh. It needs it is basically you are an amazing person, and I think like what you are doing, you can make a lot of noise. And it's not just about noise, but you can actually showcase what you're doing and inspire other people. And we found out that like your social media are a bit dormant. You hardly post. Yeah. You mostly repost what people are already posting.
Oh yeah. Yes. You're not the first person to say that to me. I think even a couple of weeks ago, someone told me that same exact same thing. Like, hey, I don't see much about you online. Or like, yes, I know. But again, I think over the past couple of weeks, and probably the past months, I've been thinking about how can I really put myself out there, but not just for the sake of being out there, but again, is how can I use that platform to also inspire other people and also, for the public good itself. So I think I'm taking my time to really strategize how I'm gonna, start putting myself out there and making it more meaningful, not just for post sake, but doing things that I know, would have some impact, because that's what I care about, the impact. So
I am certain that if you put yourself out there, you will create a lot more impact than probably what you're currently doing. There
That's
are a
possible.
lot of
That's possible.
Africans that are looking for people like you that want to be inspired so they can really put more effort into what they are doing. So the next thing that I want us to look at is you are very prolific in terms of your skill sets. You have like a lot of things that you're doing. You have a lot of expertise, and that's something that I think a lot of people admire about you, right? So let's list those expertise. Like, what are the things that you can do? Like, I know them, of course. So if you don't name all of them, I'll do them.
Well, I think I won't do a good job of naming each of them, but I think one way I can describe myself is I'm a handyman, right? Means that I always like to keep myself busy. I always like to no, how do you do this? Let me figure out how this is done.
You are curious.
I'm very curious, yes. So I always try to try myself and get a feel of it. And so those things have led me to different passion projects here and there, and get me involved in several things. Sometimes outside what people know me for. Sometimes
Okay, so let's talk about those things. Like number one, number two. What are we talking about?
I think if you ask anyone right now, oh, who is Bayoh, I think you just say, oh, Bayoh is a techie. So I'm a techie first. I love technology since day one. I remember growing up, I'm always, having a screwdriver, opening up things around the house, fixing things around the house, sometimes destroying things around the house. So yeah, that's where my curiosity started as a young child growing up. And that evolved into me being a full-on techie and being a software engineer working for, the government.
Yeah, and I also know that because when I knew you earlier, you were doing music. Music.
Yes.
So music is one of those things, and multimedia
Yes.
is another component that you are really like people really know. In fact, one of the things that I think is really important for the audience to understand, a different set of people know you to do different
Set of things.
things,
Yes.
right? So there are people that know you as somebody who does music.
Yes.
And there are people that know you that you are in the multimedia space.
Yes.
And then some of us know you as a software developer,
Yes.
right? So let's
I have
look
three
at
lives. Three lives.
exactly. So basically, you are living like three lives, right? Three different personalities. So let's start with music.
Yes.
So what it is about music? How did you start?
Same thing, curiosity. I love music growing up, but it was just the love of it, that listening to different sounds and getting curious. How do they do this? How is this done? And stuff like that. So I get to understand that you can use computers to make music. And at that time I was into computers. I was like, okay, it's interesting. I mean, I love computer and my music, so it makes sense to start making my own music with computers. I remember we used to have this small keyboard at home. We have several of them. We have a couple of them, those small kids piano at home. So we used to play with that at home. And at that time also, I just got my first computer. I think I was from school at that time. So I realized that there is this software in computer called recorder. You can record sounds there. You can connect a microphone. You can connect everything that can go in, like take sound in, and you got the sound. So I connect that to my keyboard at that time, and then record sound. That was good. So you can record one track. I'm like, okay, you can layer different tracks. You can record multiple times and layer them, and you have the music, right? You have the bass, you have a synth, and you can have drums, and you have different layers. You have, music itself. So that's where I started. And then I realized like, oh, wait, there are softwares that are made specifically to make music. This time I think I was in Form 3, and my high school at that time had a big music scene. And funnily, I was in class with one of our biggest artists around, Young Sal. Some of you know him. we're in class, and we're at that time was hip hop was around. Like you have the 50 cents, candy shop and a lot of things, right? So, and then we used to have these music sessions in class, writing small play beats, and then we'll rap to those beats on the side. Like, okay, do you know we can record this and have this song that you can listen to? And then so I kind of stole my dad's laptop, installed the software to record music there. I had this headphone that had a microphone, so I brought that to school. And then one of the during the lunchtime, young star recorded his first ever song in class. He was rapping to the candy shop, said candy shop.
Okay.
That was his first song. So yeah, so that's where my music journey started. So I got curious. I was having a friend at that time. He was also into music, but he was a singer and rapper. He used to go to studio. So one day I followed him to the studio, and I just sat there and observed what the engineer was doing and the different things that he was, doing and software that he had and how he takes vocals, how he makes the song, how he produces. So that got me curious, and I kind of invested all what I had into getting the softwares, getting the different samples to make beats, different plugins. Yeah, so that's where it started. And funnily, um, I was my school uniform in the studio at that time. I think it was Calbox record at that time. It was up in old school. And then this gentleman walked into the studio. Guess who the gentleman was?
Drizilik?
No.
Oh.
At the time I was in from 4.
Hmm.
Alonso walking.
Alonso, okay. All right.
So Alonso wasn't Alonso at that time. He was just some guy that was he came in with his promoter to get. It was some. I think he just came from Liberia. So someone also invested in him. So he knew that he had talent in music, so they brought him to Calbox to see how they can whatever. So was there. He came in, and then they saw the producer. They spoke to the musician. And I was in the room at the time. I was sitting there just observing what's going on. And they started working these beats together. He's singing this Alonso song. Guess what song? Guess what song?
I can't.
Angel. So I was in the room when they started making Angel song.
Okay.
So he started singing this Angel song, blah blah blah, and then the producer was making the beats and all that. So I was in the room for the entire, well, most of the process itself, because music is not just one day, right? So there will be just this demo thing, and then they can find out over time. But I was there when there, so that got me really inspired to get into full production. So yeah,
Wow.
that's half the story, though.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very inspiring story. So basically, I remember when I came back from college, and we became friends. I think from college,
Yeah,
yes, we
exactly.
became friends from college, right?
Yeah.
So during that time, I also saw you actually doing music, and I saw the passion that you had. Like Bayoh used to sit in front of his computer and his keyboard. He would spend almost the rest of the day doing a beat, like trying to create a beat. And sometimes I see you started working with different artists. Some of them are big artists now, like Drizilik. That's where I actually met Drizilik.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the story behind this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that passion continued all the way to from high school. Got my wax, went to college. I think my first night in college was all music. So not our dorm room, but the other dorm that we had, myself and another friend of mine, we were in music together, was Augustine, which is Augustine.
Yeah.
Everyone knows he's also a producer now, and he's also a singer, songwriter. So he produced the um um the song for Drizilik, the Shukubrai song.
Shukubrai song.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and other song as well. So,
Wow. Okay.
so when we went to college, came from high school, we went to college together. Our first night in like staying in dorms, we spent the entire night producing with different songs. So our dorm room that he had at that time, we converted that into a studio. So we just recording songs all night, and some of the songs were not bad, anyways. But yeah. So before this day came in, so it was me, Augustine, another thing called Special P, Patrick Cocker,
Okay.
So with the three of us, we are like a team where I have a rapper and a singer, songwriter, and me, the producer and engineer. So that's where, and we had a group called Grand Mac Records.
Yeah, Grandma's record. I remember that. Yes.
So yeah, so with the three of us, and we had a lot of people as well. So we had so we started having people getting interested into joining in the group, and so we created a smaller section of the group, which are mostly newcomers, which was the Grand Mac Cadets. So the hat here was the Grand Max Soldiers, which was us, and we had the Grand Max Cadets, which was my younger brother, some other artists, and then Drizilik came in. Drizilik is a friend of my brother at that time. So he brought him in like, hey, take this guy's good. He's writing songs and he's also playing music. We're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So we did some songs and all of that, and then we started working together. We did a mixtape when it was a mixtape for just the cadet team. And this like he slaughtered all of the cadets in his with his verse. So yeah, so that was cool. So we started, getting him involved into some of the project that we had for the soldiers at that time, which was the hat here, artists in the record label. So again, all of that loan off my bedroom at my house. So
So the studio basically
it's my bedroom.
is your bedroom.
Yeah. So every day I would have like 4 or 5 people in my bedroom making music. My dad was pissed. My mom was okay. She was happy. I'm bringing friends over because before then I didn't have friends. Right? I was very quiet and reserved, shy. So I didn't have a lot of friends. But with music, I got involved with a lot of people. That allowed me to be more expressive and be open to different opinions and meeting different people. So that helped me a lot. So yeah, then he started evolving. He's a very fast learner. I mean, he improved so much that after 1 or 2 years, he was one of our flagship. The thing that records. Again, for him, he was all into music. He was all in. Right? For us, even though we love music, Augustine and I, we love music. But again, we have other passions. Like I was into software engineering, I was into computers, so like music was the thing I like doing. I didn't see it as something that I need to make money off. I was doing it because I want to do it. Even up to date, I'm just doing it because I want to, not because I can make money off it or I want to make money off it. But for Drizilik, he sees it as something. This is my life, and I'm putting everything in there. So I think that's why he excelled and he's where he is right now because of that kind of passion that he put into it from day one. So over time, everything focused now on this league. So the entire team, including myself and August's team, because for us it was just a passion thing, right? But for him, it was full on. This is my life and whatever. So we supported him. The entire Canva Records now was just this league as an artist. Myself and Augustine were helping him producing his songs and guiding him through his career and all that. So yeah, that's how Drizilik got involved. That's how I'm involved. So up to this day, I'm still involved with Drizilik, being part of his management and doing his work for production side, not producing per se, mostly in terms of creative direction. Sometimes direct some of the music videos, but I think it's been a while I produce anything. It's been like years I produce anything. Sometimes I do like mixing, like live when you have live shows. I will do sound check and mix and make sure that everything's going on fine. If you do live recording and we have some live sessions, I will do mix those. But in terms of production, it's been a while I do that. But again, yeah, I think I'm thinking of starting to. I think I'm gonna start doing it again. And I think that right now it's mostly work, and it's getting big going. So I'm thinking about maybe I start, going back into production and doing fun things again. Yeah.
For our listeners, some of them might not know who Drizilik is.
Okay.
Can you tell us who is Drizilik right now so that they understand your impact?
That's a big question. Who is he right now? Right now, I would say Drizilik is the most passionate musician that I know. He's the most talented musician that I know. He's someone that can. He's he's more than just a musician. He does not just see music, but he also see impact as well. He's very conscious about how does his art or craft or product impacts people, and when someone listens to his songs, does that song make you feel? But also, you also think also how do we, how can I live off this as a product? Because again, he's selling a product to people that people have to buy and invest in that, right? So he's also thinking about not just the music side, but also thinking about the financial implication of what he's doing. And that's a very important mindset to have as a musician, because most times musicians don't really understand the money side of music. They don't really care about their craft and all that, which is I think it's something that can limit them a bit. Because again, you can be the best singer in the world, but you don't have the idea on how to make how to benefit financially from that. Also, you have people that very good talented artists. They are not living off that because they don't know how to navigate and don't understand how that impacts or how they can capitalize on their craft to make sure they can live off that.
Like basically like the business side of
Yes,
music,
yes,
because you don't just sing,
Yes.
you want to make money out of it.
course, yeah.
And as an artist, you need to allow yourself to understand that component, not just the artist.
Yes.
And Drizilik has become one of the hottest artists in Sierra Leone. And I would say the biggest as well. His rap is great. Like he's gone all over Africa, I would say. That's really a huge impact, I would say. Because for me, that knows that story where you guys started from and how committed he was.
Yes.
I'm super happy for him, and I'm also happy for you. I think this is great. This is great, guys. Like you guys have done amazing work,
Yeah.
really. So let's talk about the multimedia aspect, like multimedia wise. I know probably because you were producing an artist and you were that brought you into the multimedia area. So how was it?
So yeah, just before we move to from this lake, just want to give the audience there's a lot more coming from this lake this year, so look out. A lot of good products, and yeah, just be open minded and enjoy.
Can't wait, can't wait. Yeah.
So in terms of multimedia, so I mean growing up, we love movies, right?
Yes.
We love movies. We love sci-fi. I love sci-fi movies, and I'm curious, like, how is this made? How did they get this effect? How did they do this? These are not real things. How did it look so real and all that?
Yeah.
So that got me also curious and inspired, and start looking at, okay, let's not be computers again. Come back to the same thing. Computers is the reason why we're here. So I have a computer. What do I need? I need software. So yeah, so again, being in music, so that's sound, right? It's also part of multimedia. But also, if you need to push out music in the music video, that's where you can multimedia because you need sound and video, to push your product. And being the engineer in the record label, I need to think about all of those things as well. So yeah, I started playing around with Photoshop and understand how to do flyers, how to graphic design, and all those things. So again, we can handle the entire chain itself. Because again, we're unfunded record label, and we need to make sure that things are done. So not just producing the song, mixing the song, but also producing the marketing material and branding material as well. So that got me involved into multimedia. So graphic design, start looking into, producing music videos, looking at the entire chain of that. So you're looking at videos, looking at storyboard, getting a script, thinking about lighting, sound, cameras, different camera lenses, how that affects the footage itself, how that affects the story itself. Then after that, that's production. How do you get to uh, how do you get to different set design? How do you comp your shots? How do you after production, post production, editing, effects? Then you get a product. How do you market that and all that? So it's the full chain itself. So At some point, I got heavily involved in movies. At some point, so this is right after college, um, before ever the music thing kicked off. I met someone by the name of Jemia Barry. He's You all know him if you're in social media and you're looking at international journalists. So he works for, I think he still works for New York Times. He's a writer. He also does documentary as well. So yeah, so he just came from Ghana at that time. He's a very talented script writer. We are also studying heavily into movies and all those things. So yeah, we got together with another friend called Nicholas Nico. He's also a very good friend from childhood. We also techies, and we also got involved into multimedia. So we started got very curious about making movies. We were kind of fed up with the whole African style movies. Like, no, we can do better. Nigerian movies are not doing it. We can do way better. And there's a lot of players as well, like you also know, Telly Koroma. So Telly is, he also into multimedia. Also, is a very, anyone that's into tech in Salon today should know Telly Koroma. He'll, yeah. So fast forward, we got together, got an idea of a movie that we want to shoot. Uh, we started trying out to get people to support the movies. It was a big movie. So using yes Barry connection, he got involved in Ghana, Nigeria with some big movie producers and movie actors. So he had a connection. The idea was for us to see up and build local connection here, get funding locally here, and then pull in those different actors and players to Sierra Leone to do a big movie that we can put out there as a salon product itself.
Yeah.
So we got people to support us, like I can't remember some people's names. I'm terrible with names. Sorry, guys. But we just if one or two people to support us. So one person was able to support us with a application um, to do what's it called, auditions. So we set up a big auditions, and a lot of people auditioned for that. A lot of big stars that you guys know today auditioned for those for that movie. I'll call a few names I remember. Michael Bassi is one.
Okay.
He's one of people that was part of our auditions, and yeah, he got really inspired by some things that we were doing and things that we did back then. And so other few people like Khadija, Khadija Kuruma, that's her name. I might be missing her name, but the Khadija that's also being in movies right now. That's also part of our audition. So again, so we did the audition. We got a cast for that. But what we realized doing some of our test runs is like a lot of people don't really understand how movies are made and how movies are done, or what's expected from actors, and what's their role, and how you can be more, expressive in acting, and how not to, you know, we didn't like the kind of play. When you're looking plays in school, how you know that you are supposed to make acting
Drama.
drama. We hated that. So we're trying to make people understand, like teach people how to act without acting. You know, so we did we did a couple. Let me say a couple workshop to train actors, understand how to dramatizing as we hate, and also teach people about certain concepts that we're bringing in. Some of the scenes are scenes that uses visual effects. So we decided to let people understand how visual effect shots are done, and how an actor can interact with something that's not there. So it'll be easy to it will look believable when we later add those things on screen,
Those
right?
effects,
Those
yes.
effects later on. So we did a couple workshops to teach people like you can these are standing objects that will be placed on, and this is how you interact with them. If the object is supposed to be an animal, this is how you paint animal. This is how you do it so that it doesn't block the camera. You can have it later on. So all the things we had to teach people in, because this is something that then they're not used to.
Yeah.
So we did a couple workshops to get people involved and give them the understanding of those things. Unfortunately, we didn't get the funding that we were looking for for the movies. So that didn't go so. So we had a lot of promises from people that never materialized, and over time we got tired and fed up and moved to other projects. So that got Jamie involved into journalism and doing um, translations and doing documentaries, which as young guys trying to find a living, you don't have enough cash in your hands, so you have to find something that could really pay the bills and all of that. So yeah, and yes, we also move into getting a job so that was something that sort of allow us to move into safe zones. So I know that I'm a techie person, right? I can always find a job in tech, right?
Yes.
We also knew that I'm a big writer, I can always find it. So like once something that we were passionate about didn't work, everybody moved in like, okay, let's go find money. And later I can come and visit our
Yeah,
product itself.
maybe later it will.
Maybe it won't later.
Yeah.
So that's where my multimedia thing started, and it didn't end it there, but most of my involvement in it started, reducing, right? So I still got involved in some of the multimedia projects. I still did most of Zilik's, not most of, but got involved in almost all of the music videos that we did for Drizilik, and what we should perform is either creative directing the concept itself, or even shooting some of the videos itself, or working with another music director to direct the movies, or shaping the creative direction of some of those music videos itself. So, and also yes, but that's the origin story itself.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating story because seeing you guys building the foundation, I would say, for multimedia in Africa and Sierra Leone in particular, that's interesting to for people to really hear and know that we are people that really that we are interested to see that we can produce some movies that all of us would have loved. Fortunately, money is always the challenge.
Yes.
However, let's talk about your. So you moved from this part and then move on to becoming the developer that you are now, right?
Yes.
So currently, you are a software developer, and I would say you've been like a lead tech developer with different agencies and institutions. Can you walk us through like how did you start? What was the journey, and what have you learned so far?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. For my journey into like software development, it didn't start off as a software developer. Um, I got my so I was from college. I was a law student.
Yes, I know. I know you began as a law student.
Yes, but from day one, I've always gone up to be this sort of engineer and computer science and techie. But again, because of parents, they had different idea of what the kid should be. So, yeah, my parents wanted me to be a lawyer. So I decided to, okay, let me do this. Let me see what happens. So I started law, and after my second year, I didn't, I didn't want to do it again. I wasn't feeling like it was something that I could do for the rest of my life. I didn't want to be going to work feeling that I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't want to do something that I don't feel fulfillment of, or don't feel like I'm doing something. So yeah, so I talked to a few people, um, and they all sort of like, hey, if you don't think this is your passion, you should not do it. Career is something that should be passion driven, and it's not very hard. It's not very easy. So you need something that you're very passionate about and that can push you through the hard times. So if it's something that you don't want to do, you should quit now and find something that you want to do. Uh, I have a very good counseling from a particular person in at LPC. He was the register. He was part of the Christian team. Anel. That's it. I don't know if you know Anel.
No.
So for social science, he's the one that you go to register your courses to. So one day I went to register. He like, Bayoh, is he here? Like, yeah, I'm still here. Like, you don't look like you want to be here. Like, what's going on? So he pulled me over. We had a long chat, and he was someone that like gave me the strength and wisdom to like move on and 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 find something that would be um, would be something that's meaningful to me myself, right? So yeah, so I quit, and I have no sense of direction of what I want to do at that time. I just didn't want to be there, so I quit.
Just a quick question. Would you describe that as one of your your biggest battles that you
It,
have
wa- it, it was.
yeah.
It was. So not just my career, but I think in just myself reconciling that, and also reconciling how my my parents, my dad specifically, handled that. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun. It wasn't like, oh, so you quit. Okay, that's fine with you. No. Yeah, it was. It took me a long time to reconcile that and then find my footing and then decide what I want to do. So yeah, so after all of that, I had to fall back to something that I know that naturally comes to me, which is being curious and being in tech and loving computers and stuff like that. So luckily, a friend of mine who were all into the movie thing, Nicholas Nicole, he went he had gone to India to study. He went there to study cybersecurity, and he came back and he got a job at one of the biggest tech companies in Sierra Leone at that time, which was SBTS Group. So yeah, we spoke and we were like, hey, I'm working now, and so then so we're like, okay. And he told me that they had this internship program at the office, and like you could join. I could vouch for you. I know you don't have any degree, but I could vouch for you. It's your skills because he knows what I can do. So him being in the office, he recommended me for the internship. I went there, I applied, I got in. Um, it was also last for 3 month internship. So I got there, started working, made me very curious, and I already had some skill sets. So I'm not coming in fresh. So I got by very easily because all the things I already know how to do them. I was heavily into networking at that time. I was a very handy man. I could fix computers. So I really you know, got liked by everyone, including the engineers. So after it was supposed to be a 3 month internship, after a month and a little over a month, I got an offer for full time junior role, which was very very inspiring for me. It kind of validated um, some of the things. Um, it validated me moving away from something that I feel like it's not me into something where I can excel naturally without doing a lot. Um,
I want you to elaborate a little bit your transition from being an intern into becoming a full-time staff, even less than the internship time.
yeah.
And what was the driver of that particular decision? What were you doing that in probably moved the people to kind of absorb you as a full-time?
So yeah, for one, we had quite a few projects at that time. So one, we had a project with I think it was EcoBank at that time. They had a new building. The whole building needs to be network, and they were installing several devices like access control, CCTV cameras, and all of those things, and all of this needs to be network. One thing, they had a deadline that they need to meet, and by the look of things, the number of people they had, it was not possible for them to reach at that deadline. And me being very handy and they needed the training and the hand holding as the other interns that I had in the team at that time, I could do way more faster. So yeah, that got me That got me.
So maybe so basically what you are saying, you are super committed
Yes.
and you are talented.
Yes. Yeah, those are clevers.
Yeah.
And one more thing as well again, that was a time when so the SPS group is a tech company and they had a training school, which is a technology training school. So they train on defense applications and for um, networking, web development, and all that Cisco courses as well. So I had a problem when one of the teachers they had issues with teachers. He was not coming for some of the classes, and the students were missing lots of classes. So yeah, and Nicholas asked me to cover for the tutor, um, and even I didn't have any paper at that time. I just had my experience and my skill sets. Went to the class and I took the class, and most of the reviews from the students were very positive, and they even asked me to continue teaching class after for the next quarter as well. So also that as well was one of the reasons why I got uh, full the job offer. It was I need to be a staff, full time staff to teach in the
Yeah. Absolutely.
the school. So yeah.
So where did you go after SPTS?
So I was at SPTS for about almost 2 years. Then Ebola hit. This was 2014.
Okay.
Ebola hit at that time. So at that time, I was very cozy with the owner, the CEO for ABTS Group, because I'm there sort of I could do anything. I could work all night. If we have a deadline, I'm there. I could not sleep until it's done. So I was very hardworking. So he liked me for that, and I was very handy. Or I could do anything. You want a website? I'm there. You need to be network someplace. I'm there. It's the database thing. I'm there. So I'm a fast learner. So even though some of the things I easily pick them up, I just observing someone do it and then going on my research about it and then build my knowledge base of that. Um, I was not really into software development at that time. I was mostly into, at most, web development with WordPress and Joomla at that time. So we had a couple projects that had to do with web development for different banks and government offices. So I did all those. Um, so more things it was like, oh, Bayoh, we're going to put it back. This company say one website. We do I want to learn so in a week, and I have so much to complete at that time. So I could put through and do it and deliver. So I was very cozy. So we did for that for those reasons. So when Ebola hits, um, but I guess it's like Ebola, right? It was the first time we hit such big pandemic.
Yeah.
Or it was a endemic, not pandemic. Pandemic is like global epidemic.
Epidemic.
Yes. So again, we didn't have any systems anywhere to deal with anything, right? So CEO at that time is Evelyn Lewis, SPTS group decided to, technology is the thing that can help with people. So he decided to offer his, expertise to the Ebola response team, which was at that time with WHO. So when they had this 017 call center thing, but not call center, there was 017 hotline that you could call for any information or report death or report anything. So when they were like, the entire 017 was just two women sitting with a piece of paper and having this small BISP phones, receiving calls and writing the call information on papers. Or like, this is not efficient. Like, how would this use all these papers to find a case, and how do you sort of like? It's not an efficient process for you to handle the level of seriousness that we should take this Ebola thing. Right?
We are talking about Ebola.
Yes.
Which is a very, very serious
exactly.
disease that kills people like nothing I have ever seen. Right? So having a system like that to manage emergencies where you have thousands of calls that come per day, it was crazy.
So they had nothing. They had nothing to manage calls. It was just these two women sitting in a corner asking calls and writing the information on paper. So when you're like, okay, we could be able to have a system that could be able to digitize the process. So when I did most of the inquiries, sit down with them, spoke with them, and understand what data they're collecting on each of the calls. At this time, I was starting to get curious about software engineering because at that time we had an engineering team at SPGS. FETS group, but it was mostly Indians.
Okay.
Sometimes I do work with them because we do have a software that we're deploying for NAT at that time, which was in Naples 2. It's a pension management system. And they had, because I was a network guy at that time, so they had two buildings, like they were like over 500 meters away. We need to connect those two buildings together. So I was there most of the time to make sure that we had an EU line, a wireless link between the buildings. So I was mostly managing that link, which is up and running because they have to sync data back and forth between two buildings. So I wasn't really involved into the development side, but I was involved enough to understand the development side to know what they're doing and make sure that the network side corresponds. Going to have the link to make sure that data is been has been it's been transmitted across the two buildings and synced across two buildings.
Yeah.
So again, it was Ebola, and the entire engineering team was Indians. So when Ebola hit, they had to go back to their country because they were scared. No one knew what Ebola was at that time. It was very scary. People were dying in the streets, all of that. So they had to go back. So they were mostly working remotely. But again, this was 2015. Remote work wasn't really that what it is now, right? There's lots of tools you can use to, to do remote work easily. So after getting the requirements, I sent them over to so the team in India to start building up the solution. Uh, that yes, they got buy-in to the solution. The first instance of the solution itself, we deployed that. But in terms of providing support and maintenance to the system itself, it was almost non-existent because
That is this hotline, like the call
yes,
center.
yes. So you have a whole system to manage the call itself. So right. So for one, there's a software now that we develop the software, develop the processes to handle the call. So there's a call, you have a call agent that arranges the call. We have a dispatch team that dispatch a call to the relevant stakeholder, whether it's ambulance team, whether it's a swap team, whether it's just a follow-up team, those sort of things. So we have different teams that handle different things. So we develop the entire system to handle all of those. And within the software itself, you can dispatch to different teams and do callbacks. So we developed the entire 117 call management system and also train about 200 call operators. So from 2 people to 200 call operators, we trained, which was doing about, I think about, the first initial thing was about 20 seats per session. So every time you had about 20 people seated to answer calls.
Answer calls, something.
That went flawlessly for a very long time. And then we had to have the first lockdown that we had, which was the first time ever for the country to lock down for those kind of things. Why no one's going anywhere? So we needed to make sure that we were prepared to handle the volume of call because again, we were pushing 117 as the information line for anything that you're facing. Call 117, anything call 117. So we kind of anticipated that there will be influx of calls to this. So we had to, space we had cannot to go more than 20. We need to add more operators. So at that time, a lot of people were, heavily involved now. You get this here, CDC is here, the WHO, like a lot of people are here, providing support towards the response itself. And we had to have another call center to improve the numbers. So we had another call center at the Orlando office in Wilberforce, and we had the original call center down at the WHO office back of Chema Road. Yeah. So you have to make sure that, because again, it's one software, and we had the servers at WHO. So what we did was to have have a not redundant, have a mere copy of the server itself at the new location. So that became the primary location itself. So there we had about 30 seats there. So we had 30. No, so yeah, it was more. So total about 65 seats. I remember it was almost 65 seats. So 65 callers at once. Some of them were down there, some of them are up there. We had the first lockdown, and we switched from having like maybe 5 calls a day to having like 2,000 calls a day.
Well,
That was hell. System wasn't built to handle that kind of that kind of load itself. So that caused me major failures, a lot of concurrencies. I wasn't a software engineer at that time. I was no one else to handle it. So I had to step in. I had to learn on the fly. I had to understand how the database work. I had to understand how
So,
concurrencies
so
work.
wait. So you automatically became a software engineer
Yes,
because of the system was failing.
yes. So there was no one there to help, and I'm the closest person that would be able to provide any kind of support, even though it was limited, even though my knowledge was limited. Um, so I had to upskill as fast as I can to make sure that I was able to, my primary goal was we need this system should not fail. A lot of people are depending on the system. A lot of lives are depending on the system, right? If someone is dying in the house and needs to call 117 to send an ambulance there, if the system is not up and running, that call cannot come through. So those are the things that are pushing me not to fail and able to find knowledge to fix what was going on at that time.
I can I can imagine that you had sleepless nights trying to figure out how to become a software engineer
Yes,
and trying to fix this system so that it will not fail.
and let's people read this.
Say it again, please.
I didn't sleep for 3 days um, because one, I had to learn about database concurrency and how we can fix that. I had to learn how we can create database replicas at both ends so that we don't have to rely on this sort of wireless link a lot. I had to learn a bunch of a bunch of stuff to make sure that the system are up and running. Because again, it was not just that, but the entire response rely on the data that we're producing from the ops. A lot of teams can't do their work without the data. Dispatch team can't dispatch ambulance to any location without knowing where to send them or where it was coming from. CDC needed to know the numbers of calls that are coming in and how these calls were handled and things. Death cases also that reported has to be verified that those are death cases and those are Ebola cases as well. So a lot of things depend on that.
Yeah.
And at that time, a lot was going on. I couldn't see everything, but a lot was going on.
Yeah.
So that pushed me to make sure that I could be able to deliver on those things. Yes, I could. At the end of the day, after 3 sleepless nights, we didn't have as much downtime as we could have. Um, we're able to segment the two systems. So when we could have these sort of nightly backups on the from the different locations, and then we sync back offline. In sync could happen, and then that also allow me to give feedback to the engineers in India to change certain things and accommodate for this sort of surge. Because again, system wasn't built for that in mind at that time. It wasn't built for this sort of volume as one. It wasn't built for this sort of latency across different locations. It was built for computers handling software within the same network locally without having a wireless link that has probably over 300 milliseconds of delay. So we did fix them, but at that time that was not fixed. So after the 3 days, everything was fine. We did have some downtime, but not significant that could halt all operations. I went home to rest. That's the first time I've ever, I would say, blackout. I didn't have any knowledge of what happened after that. So all I remember was going home and opening my room. That was the last time I remember. I slept for over 24 hours. I woke up a day later. I thought I just entered the room.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. That's that's amazing. That's fascinating. That's a fascinating story. So I think this is where now at this point, this is where you got involved with eHealth Africa.
Yes. So yeah. So looking at the shortcomings of our solution at that time, again, This follow solution was built for all of these things. It was mostly built to just handle the calls, but again, other things added to it. So again, this was everything was centered around Freetown. All the response was centered around Freetown. But again, the Ebola was is everywhere, right? So in order to reduce the load on the on Freetown capacity itself, they need to get decentralized 417 into the sub-region to different districts. Um, and the best way to do that is to see how we can develop other systems that could link into our main system, and then push the data out for them to handle their own discrete calls.
So basically, each district will be handling their own calls.
Yes, exactly.
And call data will also go to them, and they can handle their
Dispatch, and pick up and verification of other things.
Instead of it just being a one central system.
Yeah, exactly. So all the calls are still coming through Freetown.
Okay.
Once data is entered, it's hit to see their own data and then handle their own cases. So I would say cases, not calls now, cases.
Yeah.
So I worked with the e-health engineer to replicate the data model in our database, because they need to replicate those models as well. So they handle the case kits call memory system. So they will plug into our own database, pull in the data, and then each case kit will be filtered by that district's ID only, and they can only see calls coming from that district. So they will go in now and then dispatch and whatever. So whatever action they do on the calls, on the cases, will then get back to our database. So we'll be using one database, but remotely, which is fine. So which one we reduce the latency, because now we only handle the Freetown dispatch, which is fine. And now the field will handle their own dispatch. So I work with the engineer to, first of all, understand our own data model, replicate that data model, set up the network infrastructure to handle the connections from their own servers to our database to pick up the how they send the connections, and then provide support to that. So do that process is when I got involved with EL. So after that, they decided to set up shop in Sierra Leone. And then I got an offer from them to join their team after the responses as normalized. So then they got the funding from CDC to handle the one call center. So decided to, not kind of replace our own setup, because our setup was made for a specific use case, which was a quick and that's way to digitize the call system itself. So yeah, but all of our processes that were already laid down in the initial system was replicated in their system, so I can also put in that in, moving things over, make sure that some of the processes are replicated over and data is easily synced to their own platform, and then we cannot shut down the old system and then replaced by the new system itself.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was how I got involved into software side of things. So at that time, still I wasn't really a software engineer. I wasn't even the software developer. I was mostly in the realm of what I could say software coordinator. So wherein I can software coordinator slash database management, right? But with the area team, I wasn't really on the software side. So I was mostly on the coordinating side.
Okay.
So looking at
like the project,
yes,
like the project management area.
So more like a business process side.
Okay, like the business process or business analysts area.
Yes.
So basically, you are like beating around the software area, working with software engineers, designers, and those people, DevOps.
Yes.
So you understand the processes.
Yes, exactly.
That was where you are.
Yeah. Because again, I had a lot of context of how the solution worked. So again, I was mostly the primary knowledge base for that. So I worked with engineers, like fleshing out the different requirements, gathering inside the information on the data itself, what could be improved, how some of these things were handled in our systems, making sure that they get over. So yes, mostly on those things, attestants. So yeah, so that was how I got into eHealth. And then as my first role was a IS coordinator, so implementation system coordinator. So I worked with the software teams on different projects, not just the call centers. After the call center projects, we worked on with the same Ebola response on contact tracing application. So contact cases in the entire response where people they were sent into different communities. They have they have quarantine homes. They were under quarantine, or and these people go in there to make sure that they can check in the vital signs of people in quarantine homes and make sure that no one is showing symptoms. And if anyone is showing any symptoms, they can report back to HQ for testing and probably sending the dispatch team to pick up the person and bring that to a treatment center.
Yeah.
So this project was all paper based at that time. So this was another bottleneck for the entire response because people were just sitting at home filling these forms and just saying everyone is okay. There's a lot of times when quarantine homes had positive cases second up. People are running away and infecting other areas as well. So and they need to able to fix that. And the best to fix that is to digitize the decentralization process itself. So can you tell whether someone is taking that is still home filling the form or someone is actually in the field where they are assigned filling this taking that data itself. So we digitize that and have a mobile app for them to collect the data itself,
And then submit.
submit online or offline, so both ways. So I work with the team to gather all the requirements for that. Work with the qualification lead to design the process map for that. So how this are coming in, is there an approval process? How is it verified? How is it sent to the system? Have dashboards. What kind of dashboard do you want to see? Do you want to see flags for any suspicious cases? For example, if your temperature is above certain degrees and you have certain symptoms, those are flagged, so they can be able to put you as a high risk or potential risk, so you can be able to probably remove you from the rest of the team and put or how they isolate you just to observe you, make sure that symptoms don't go over the threshold.
Yeah.
If you go over the threshold, they can simply transfer you to the center, other things. So we have all those dashboards that can able to tell all those things, which really help the quality of data that they collect,
Yeah.
and also the accuracy of the data. Means that we are sure that they are the center collecting that information, not at their homes, because the forms are geotagged, so they can say where you are making the data.
So you know that the data is basically the team here will know at national level
Yes.
know that the data was submitted at that location,
Sure.
and also the timeliness,
It's timeless as well.
the timeliness of the data.
So because it needs to be that you need to be with the people taking data, you have to take the temperature with the temperature gone, and then the data and all that things.
Yeah.
So it's really improved the response and the data, the kind of data they have, and allow them to make certain swift, very significant decision that really helps the response. So call center, dispatch, sorry, not dispatch, contact cases. Those are the two main key elements of the entire response.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we digitize. So that really got me involved heavily with the tech team, with the team. I started working closely as well with the UI UX team, giving them cues like, okay, people are not really lettered. We need to increase the size of this. We need to remove this drop down and have it as open option instead of having to click and have this. So I really give them a lot of feedback into how they can improve the UI of the form itself, because most of the content users are not young people, they are mostly aged. And then most people are not really very lettered or very technology savvy. So our UI we came out at that time was very intuitive, easy to use, and it's really. And I also got a lot of feedback from the user themselves. So we did a lot of user testing. why we also had sessions where we bring in some of them and then show them a couple of different UIs and see their response to different UIs and stuff, and then we we then finalize based on the survey, and we um, select the UI components that had the best response. So that really helped. So yes, that was how I started creeping into the development team. So I became the first junior dev, I think 3 or 4 months after working at eHealth. So I became the first hired local developer. Because all the developers at that time were in in Germany and Australia. So yeah, I became the first one, and then we started hiring local people. I pushed for also I hired local people, and we advertised, and I got people. The first one person we hired was George Gilagakin, who is still a very good friend right now. And next person was Mohammed James. He's also a very good friend right now. He is currently the director of technology with essentially degree in it at State House. And next person we hired was Jesse Abatue, who is now currently the the lead developer at the SCI. So that was the engineering team at the Health for a long time, and then you came in as well a year or two later.
Your work laid the foundation for most of the influential developers that we have right now in Sierra Leone.
Yeah,
And
but not that also. I actually my goal was to change the mindset of some of the people I work with, because again, people have low expectations about Scandinavians won't find this kind of talent here and all that. That was something I got a lot. So for me, I looked. I'd like I don't like to brag about myself, but I was an anomaly. Well, not anomaly. I was sorry, don't record that mistake. That was I was kind of like a misnomer, right? So I kind of move away from what people expected of whatever. So like, oh wow, like I even got this from the director of EL at that time. Like you are you from here? Like, yeah, I'm from here. I'm a Selena. Did you study outside? Like, no. In fact, I didn't even finish college at that time. So, like, I'm not even a graduate. You know, like it's like the things you're doing. Like, we're kind of struggling to find someone else that can do this. So, like, I think there are people that like me. Like, I don't think I'm great. I don't think yeah, there are hardworking Selenians that are very passionate about what they do and they can put in the hard work. So yeah, I got that from Evelyn. He told me that not once, not twice. That was even sometimes when I got a director's bonus on my salary. Sometimes.
these people are currently they are currently holding strategic positions
Yes.
across the country, and your experience, your journey up to this level shows how you have not only helped yourself, but also you also changed the narrative of how people perceive
Yeah.
Sierra Leoneans as not just Sierra Leoneans but also Africans.
Yeah.
We have intelligent people. We have people that can get the job done if you give them the chance. eHealth is one of those teams for me personally, because I also came there through you, because I knew you and I was able to connect myself to eHealth. I know I made the effort, I worked, but also because you were there and other people were there as well, the Sierra Leoneans that were working with the software team. These guys were like top-notch developers, top-notch talents from European countries.
Yes.
And we went there, we were able to create our own little impact. But all of the people that came from eHealth right now, they are holding strategic positions.
Yes.
So I think that was a really solid foundation that you laid there. And we want to be grateful to you. Absolutely. You have created that road. You have opened that way for all of us. Now, I want to focus on like the people that you've worked with. You have worked with amazing people. I mean, at high level, right from your journey. For Africans, young people, creating connections is one thing, but being able to maintain those connections, especially with high level people, is a challenge. How have you, what's your secret?
Uh, I think I don't think it's secret, but I think one thing I always like to establish with people is value. I think once I establish my value to you, it's a very good um, base platform to build, lasting relationship, right? Because again, I feel like that's how you can maintain something lasting by some value you bring into someone, right? I think once you've established your value, people find you. So I always say. So yeah, so when I meet people, I always like to, you know, express or make sure that they're able to see the value I bring and how that value can impact their own, their own journey or their own passion, uh, um, their own cause. So most times when I meet people, I've worked with a lot of, people have now been ministers or chief ministers. I always tend to have that. So, and that has been that's been it. That's the secret. There's nothing more to it. It's just that, Bayoh is someone that can, like, I know that I need something around this. He's the one I should call, and that's the value, and that's what I bring.
So basically, from what you are saying, you have to become the master of your own art or your own skills. Because if you bring something to the table, then if you create a connection with the person and somebody knows that you are bringing something to the table, you are not there to beg, they will respect it. There will be mutual respect.
Yes,
That
yes.
is really, I think,
Yeah, not so much about being master of your arts, because again, for me, I always see myself as I'm always learning. I don't see myself as master of anything. So that's why you can see jack of all trades, master of none, but still I'm better than the master of one. So, because it gives you a broader perspective when you have a bit of knowledge here and there. You know what how this is done, you know how this connects there and all of that, right? So you fully understand the chain itself. Even the field of software engineering, let's say you're just a software engineer, right? With software engineer, there's a lot of field in that industry itself, right?
yeah.
It doesn't make sense for you to know everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very valuable for you to understand bits and pieces of how every other section work, right? You can't just be a front-end engineer and just I'm more focused on front-end. I don't care about back-end. I don't care about, DevOps. I don't care about CI/CD. You need to care because as a front-end engineer, those things affect your own side of things, your own product, your own thing, your own side of the chain itself. So it's a chain. So if one side is broken, it affects the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have a bit of knowledge here and there to make sure that what you're building complements all the other areas, so it works in a seamless synergy.
Yeah.
So that's why I always like to, even if I'm not master of any of them, I just like to understand how those things work. So yeah, I'm not a master. I'm just jack of all trades.
So having a clear understanding of the big picture
Yeah.
gives you a lot of advantage, especially if you are coming from Africa.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, you have to get the
You have
whole-
to. Yes. Yes.
So my next question is: you have managed to sit on both sides of the table.
Mhm.
You've worked for governments, and you have also worked for NGOs
Yes.
and partners that are trying to work with governments.
Yes.
What's your perspective about this? What have you learned over the years?
Uh, I don't know, maybe this might sound controversial, but again, I think it's a different mindset. So I think most times government and partners are coming from different lenses. Sometimes what the partner wants may be different from what the government agency wants. And I think we mentioned this a couple of days ago with Minister, um, wherein we might have a panel on this with the tech summit to discuss.
Which minister is that?
Mr. Salima, Minister of Communication, Technology and Innovation. So this has been one of the biggest problems I face. So from the perspective of an NGO coming to the government to support some of their efforts, I remember back in the day working in e-health. One of our main partner is Ministry of Health. Because what EL does is supporting Ministries of Health in different countries to digitize their or support their health solutions, these health solutions. And sometimes, from our perspective, like the minister doesn't know what they want or they know what they're doing, right? That's the angle they're most coming from. Like they don't know what they want. We'll make a solution and bring it to them.
That's how like partners see
Yes,
government.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
So again, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, and for the most time it doesn't work because I feel like from having working in government the last couple of years, government do know what they want. Um, it might not be the right thing, but they do know what they want. I think if a partner is coming to support the government, they should first listen to what the government has to say of what they think they want. And if they have a second opinion, they should support the government in developing in finding that in catering to something that could work, right? Whether it's by scientifically verified that it's working, whatever. But I think coming in and just disregarding and say that doesn't work and just use this one. This is what we tested out there. Because again, most of the time they come in with a foreign solution that's probably not even developed within an African context, and trying to fix that into an African context, and it takes a lot of efforts and time and resources to make that work in that context, right? But again, if finding an African solution into the African context, which will be more easier. And if the government has a solution or have a therefore solution that they think can work in that context, it's better to support that government to refine that solution and make it work than bringing in something new. So again, that has given me a perspective working in government, working in agencies, to understand that there is a balance that can be formed that will benefit both sides.
Okay. So another question, as you were explaining, that was what I was thinking about. Can governments, especially African governments, can they become innovative?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
What would be if they can become innovative? What do you think would be the factors that they need to consider for them to be innovative?
They always say like governments are slow to react, and in the world of innovation, slow is not it's not part of it. You need to be fast. You need to change and adapt quickly to changing things, trends and stuff like that. And when we look at governments, we always say they are too big to move. Uh, so, but again, that's a trend that's changing. Looking at the wave of new governments across Africa, and even looking at our own context here, there has been a lot of dynamic, new, energetic ministers being appointed, and that youthfulness has really transcend the age-old idea of how governments are formed and structured or whatever. You see a lot of young people now holding government positions and being being public workers and public service workers as well, myself included as well, right? And I think the idea came from because most people in government are aged above 40 and 45 and above working for government. So, and most of those people are very are not really kind to changing their ways. Me and you are very quick to change our ways once we find something that's better and new, right? So also working in government, and we found out, oh, but this way we were doing these things didn't really work. There's a new way we can do this better. we easily change because we are naturally inclined to change,
Yeah.
even if we are not governments. And if we hold certain positions, we can move departments and agencies and ministries to move in that direction as well. So why I think it's two, but I think that's a changing perspective now about governments being slow to innovate or not being innovative, because now there's a new evolution, a new wave of ministers that are young and energetic, and there's a new wave of government workers that are young uh, and and are willing to change for the better.
With that thought in mind, what you just mentioned, I was thinking about because innovation also allows you to fail fast and then move faster, right?
Feel
And
feel quick and what's what it is? There's a saying,
I don't.
but there's a saying for that. Like it's I'll remember.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, it says you need to fail. Now the problem with government is they don't want to fail.
But government fails all the time. There are a lot of failed projects in
what?
government.
But they portray themselves as winners, right? Like they always win. But in most cases, yes, all of us know that sometimes some initiatives, most times,
Yes,
initiatives
most
don't
of them,
work
yeah.
within government. So, and one would like to argue, even myself, I would like to argue that even though yes, we are accepting young people. I mean, we are ushering in young people to become leaders, right? We also need to know that experience also counts.
Yes.
Experience counts because there is a particular unique case that probably I just want to mention. If you look at Uganda, Museveni,
Mm.
okay, is somebody who is old, right? But he has made serious changes
Sure.
in that country, and they even with all the challenges he's facing with different this donor this aid model that Africa has
Yeah.
been painted with. You know, he has made serious strides in terms of changing the economy, driving innovation within the country, and so on. But I'm also thinking that also, yes, young people have made like a lot of changes, like looking at Rwanda, what's happening there, and other countries. So I think it's a mix of both. What do you think about that? Having old people and young people working together.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that we should replace all the old people in our government. No, we need that kind of experience. I think even quote unquote the old people, I've started to understand that. I mean, we need those things. We need to survive as a people, as a government as well.
Yeah.
We cannot be doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So I don't think it's a far fetched idea of collaborating with existing knowledge um, civil servants and the new wave of civil servant coming in.
Yeah.
So I think just that people have to respect each other, expect that all these people are being here. They understand the dynamics that's here. They have the experience that we can tap into. We can also use that experience and improve on some of the processes. So again, the idea of failing faster is a good thing because instead of spending on a project 5, 6, 10, $15 million for the next 4 or 5 years and then fail at the end, you can spend 2 million now and fail in next 1 year and iterate and improve on what you've learn lesson why you fail and then try again. So and then probably you won't feel as bad as you feel before and you try again. So instead of feeling at once one time, I don't know, 5 years and then everything ended, you can feel 2 times, 3 times and still have a problem at the end. It's way better compared to just feeling once and then not have anything else to show for it at the end of the day.
Yeah. So another question. Now we are moving towards Africa. By the way, I want us to look at the bigger picture. Um, do you think that the aid model that Africa has been plagued with for the last 60 years or so, does it stifle the innovation in Africa or does it help innovation?
Yeah, controversial. Um, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's helping at all. Because again, most of these aid are coming in with certain prerequisites that you have to meet in order to access these aids or these loans or whatever. And again, they've already predetermined what the funds should go into, right? This aid is meant to support XYZ thing, right? And government will struggle to change or redirect some of those funds to where needs may arise. Example, if we've already provided, if XYZ donor partners already provided some funds to support government in, let me say, in building new schools, for instance, right? But they found out, oh, okay, instead of us building a new school, a hospital in this area will be more beneficial to the community itself. Maybe next school for that community is maybe 2 miles down the street, but the next hospital is 30 miles away.
Yeah.
A school in that community, yes, will be beneficial, but not as beneficial to the entire community as an hospital. It will be very difficult for the government to make that case to change that funding, to redirect that funding to building a hospital instead of a school. Those are some of the things that that kind of model is not really helping when it comes to, yes, the money is good. Yes, it will help XYZ. But when it comes to really supporting,
like redirecting the
not,
funds.
not redirecting, really putting the funds where it's really needed,
Okay.
it's really can't. Some of the funding are very based on what they should go into.
So you are basically constrained.
Yeah, it constraints.
And most African governments, they don't have enough resources
Yes.
from their own maybe
Okay.
tax collections
Yeah.
or something that they can say, okay, we want to put this for innovation. I think there are only few countries right now that have broken away from that constraints that can have like some kind of offer where they take from and then innovate.
Yeah, and again, it's also kind of I won't say make people lazy, but again, it creates dependency, right?
Yeah.
It creates a dependency when because if you know that if I don't work, I'm not gonna eat. You do whatever to make sure that you can find something to do and make sure you work and get paid and feed your family and whatever, right? If you know that okay, I have this uncle somewhere that can go and carry it and he give me $200 or give me some money to eat, then you always have that back in your mind. It won't really push you more. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's why I see most time. It creates a dependency when countries and governments see this as a source of funding to develop their countries. I don't think they should see it as a source, as the main source to support and develop countries, their countries. I think it should be as just a support to fix things here and there. But I feel like they should look at core activities that they can engage in that will provide the main source of their own innovation, of their own development, right?
Yeah. So you think what I understand from what you're saying is that if a country is to work like 2 or 3 times harder for them to become a developed country or for them to push their innovation, they will relax, thinking that they will be able to get money from like this donor model that
Yeah.
comes that can like become basically affects us to become a little bit more lazy.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at most government ministries, most of their big projects are donor funded projects. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely, you're right.
Right? So, again, when you look at how much of the government's budget goes into those projects, it's almost zero. All of them are government or donor funded. There are few projects that are really pioneered by government and it's government money is based on tax collection. There are very, very few. Most of our tax collection goes into paying salaries. Yes, I think we need to really look at our tax laws and see how we can find those which like will support some of the things I want to do, or better allocate um, those um, those funds to certain strategic areas that needs funding. Also looking at our wage bill and see how government can able for to refine that, make it a much more sustainable bill. There are a lot of things that government can look at to reduce our dependency um, on um, on foreign donors. Also looking at foreign investments, how they can able to foster and encourage foreign investment to come here and set up shop and invest in the country. How we can able to look at our exports and agriculture. Those are things that can really help us than depending on foreign aid.
Yeah. And speaking of foreign investments, Africa is currently booming when it comes to startup. We see a lot of startup coming up, like they are doing a lot of amazing work, right? But then also, if you look at the other way around, you see there is a disparity in the way resources are distributed when it comes to maybe investment, VCs, and
Yeah.
whatnot. When you look at West Africa, East Africa, and North Africa, there is disparity.
Yes.
What do you think is causing this, especially with tech companies and whatnot? What's happening?
For me, I think the disparity mostly surround the kind of the underlying infrastructure that exists for some of these companies to exist to operate here, right? So looking at tech investments or investment into technology products. Technology products require certain kind of infrastructure to be present or to be thriving or them to excel. You also need population as well to support those products itself. I think apart from Nigeria, that has a very huge population, most of West Africa probably is under 20, 30 million people. And when you look at how much of those people can access technology, have access to power and internet, it's very low. So when you look at the slice of how many people can go into those products, it's tiny compared to the entire population of the country itself. And then those are what's like those investors are looking at. If I invest in a particular project or product in XYZ country, how am I going to reap from this? Right? How am I going to, you know, profit from this? How are you going to be profitable? A population of Sierra Leone is 7 million, right? How many people can access the internet? Maybe about what 1.2 million. How many people can have the purchasing power to subscribe for a service if this product have a service? Very low number. How long will it take me to regain back my investment? Years. Is this country very stable when it comes to political and political atmosphere? Is it always in the edge of war? So all the things affect uh, whether or not VCs and investors can come into these countries. But when you look at other regions like the North and South Africa, I won't say they're relatively stable. Uh, but there are major countries in those areas that have been stable for a very long time. And they do have a lot of the online infrastructure to support those things. And they do have some population. The populations are the percentage of people that can adopt and afford some of the services are way bigger compared to some of the West African counterparts. So that's from my opinion. That's why most of the disparities come from when you look at West Africa and the other South and Northern African. Example, we'll take a look at one of the biggest tech companies in the world, AWS. Since 2018, AWS have had their data centers in South Africa. But I think it's only last year that this has adding two small data center in Nigeria. But Nigeria has a bigger economy compared to South Africa. Why did they decide of there? Nigeria has a bigger population than South Africa. Why did they do it there? It's because of the online infrastructure. It's because of the purchasing power of the people itself. So those are the kind of things that I think we need to improve to be able to attract those VCs and investors into technology here.
So basically, from what you are saying, infrastructure is key.
It's good. Yeah.
Like government needs to build the infrastructure, the enabling environment, and then you will see all these big tech companies will start coming. And yeah, I know population is a tricky one because you cannot just increase your population, but making yourself attractive begins with building the enabling environment and educating your population.
Yeah.
Because the more your population is educated to be able to use online services, then
Can afford to use my service.
exactly can afford to use online services. Because that's another thing. Yeah, I think
Because if they're educated means that their earning power threshold have already increased, right? So instead of earning 400,000, 16,000 a month, you're now able to earn above that 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 6 million, which can allow you to be able to access, able to spend extra money into those different large services, right?
Yeah. So in Africa, we are seeing a lot of, I would say, groundbreaking initiatives that are ongoing. It could be startups. It could be any initiative that maybe you know of. Are there any initiatives that you probably admiring, especially in the innovation space, whether AI or whatever?
In Africa here?
In Africa, yes.
Yeah, so I went to Nigeria a couple months ago, and I went to one of these innovation lab, and they have this sort of AI in Nigerian built AI that speaks in local languages. I think I forgot the name of the AI. They has a Nigerian name. So it's a humanoid robot. It's only halfway, only it's also way. But yeah, so I think that's the idea of that is to how we can have and build our own and develop our own LLMs that will understand our own dialect. That opens a lot of doors on how information is shared, how information is consumed. That can really help. Most of these AIs have been built on the open AI and the other AI models are mostly developed, with a certain kind of context, with a sort of Western context, and he understands English better. Yes, he can able to translate text into Creole, but he cannot speak Creole at this moment. He cannot speak Yoruba at this moment. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine how much we can able to improve knowledge sharing, having a model that can talk to you in Creole, can speak Timni or Limba or Minde.
Yeah.
How we can able to change the landscape of government service delivery or digital service delivery to our online or unlettered population. You know how we have struggled over the years to make sure that our unlettered people can able to access government services.
Yes.
That could change a lot of change that in a significant way. That you can just talk to a model and it can able to service you whatever you want.
Yeah.
So again, I see that as a very big project. I think other countries can also benefit from. I think I'm positive in watching that project and see how they move through that.
Yeah. So just to add to what you've just said, there is a point that you make. Many people don't know this, but actually about 50% of endangered languages are actually from Africa.
Yeah.
Because our languages are becoming extinct.
Yeah. Yes.
Because now, look, they're becoming extinct for many reasons, but some of these reasons are, number one, when we bear our children,
Yes,
we don't educate them in our local languages. In fact, we don't want them to talk. We don't even want them to talk our local languages. Instead, we fight for them to speak English or talk like the European. In fact, we even think that when a child speaks English, that child is more intelligent than a child who is talking Igbo or any other language, right? So that has led like a drain. We are moving people from our local languages, pushing them to English, and then leaving our languages to go extinct. So this innovation that you are talking about is something that can change that narrative. Is there any other initiative that you've seen or that you think might be impactful in Africa?
I think it's what people's attention to look at is the whole uh, DPG initiative. Sierra Leone is a signatory to the DPG alliance.
Can you what's
So
the
DPG, its acronym is Digital Public Goods. So these are open source contents or solutions that would benefit the public itself. It's a way to be able to share some of the solutions to everyone, right? Um, I think that's a very big initiative in Africa, which will foster collaboration, fosters resource sharing, and as a whole, foster innovation and digital transformation. So DPGs are not just like software, right? DPGs can be LLMs. So, example, the large language model I was talking about developing in Nigeria could be shared with other African countries to use and then fine tune for their own local dialects, right? It could be
So basically, like that large language model can be shared with other African countries.
Yes.
Then they can also incorporate their own local dialects.
Yes.
So you'll be able to use it. So
Yes.
that also means that like there is some resource savings or
Yes.
cost savings
Cost savings,
with
yes.
DPG.
Yeah, so that's one of the big selling point that Africa, we are very resource constrained as a continent, right? We have very few resources to go around. If one country has already invested that having resources in developing certain solutions, we have very similar problems across different African countries. Instead of other countries to go through the same process of developing and spending money on that, they can spend half that resources to just implement and customize for their use case. So that's the whole idea of public goods, like of the things that people can also benefit from. So there's a whole initiative right now why we're trying to galvanize support and galvanize trust in the entire process of contributing towards DPG. There are a lot of solutions in different African countries, even including in Sierra Leone here, that we developed over the years that would be beneficial to other countries like Liberia, Guinea, Ghana, Nigeria, which open up to everyone to anyone to use. We can support them implementing it, or they could use it on their own if they want to. So means that what's the word? Is it Ubuntu? I think what is Ubuntu? Why it means that it means to share. I think I might be wrong. So you know this, I might be wrong. But again, the whole idea of DPG, I think, is something that we need to look out for as a continent. I think something we also need to embrace. We need to embrace. I think because it's the thing that would help us propel us into the next, phase of technology adoption for and helping different countries attain certain um, transformation when it comes to digital technology itself. Like I was mentioning, so it's not just software. So we're looking at LLMs, we're looking at digital content. It might be lessons, it might be photos, images, it might be slides images, it might be um, example, we went to Nigeria and we were speaking with they have their own aeronautic department where they have a satellites that does transmission as well. That can be open source. Why other people can tap into that? Maybe not as a commercial cost, but as a very decent cost that can be affordable to support other countries as well. So remote areas could have internet and all those things. So again, open source, the whole DPD thing is not just software, but it cuts across any digital intervention that could be shared across for the general good for everyone.
Great. I think that's amazing because there is so much that we can share. because we have similar cultures, we have similar contexts. Definitely, we can share a lot of these things because look at some technologies that are currently existing across Africa: M-Pesa, Flutterwave,
Yes.
Paystack, and all of these. These businesses are there. Some fintech, these fintech solutions.
Yeah.
There are African countries that don't have none of those solutions. I know some of them, probably you cannot make them open source,
Yes.
but at least you can have some form of, I don't know, there is the word for it, I think, where you'll be able to have some license for people to be able
Yes,
to
so use
use.
them,
And then you that produced or that owns the technology, you can also be able to benefit
Yes.
from that technology, but in a more minimal way, not in that commercial sense. It was great having you in the studio today. I think our listeners have learned a lot from you, and thank you. I think probably we're going to have you here.
Sure. I'll go to be here again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's why.
Bye.